UFC 330 is this weekend. Makhechev versus Gary. I'll be going over all the best picks and who you should be picking for every fight this card. Jeremiah Wells versus Orlabai. Huge underdog versus a massive favorite here. Classic prelim fight. Huge favorite versus an underdog who will most likely just lose within the first 30 seconds. Orlabai should come into this fight and get a finish. Sub or KO, doesn't matter. He should be able to get it done either way. If he does go to decision, then Orlabai isn't as good as we thought, or Wells is just too tough. But for this fight, I do have Orlabai winning by KO in round 1. Magny versus Ramiz. UFC vet versus an up-and-comer who's looked like a good prospect at times, but has also looked like a can. Does have one of the nasty guillotines I have ever seen. Once he snatches it up, 9 times out of 10, his opponent is going to sleep or they are tapping. Ramiz had a very good round 1 against Pualehi, where he looked pretty good, landed a couple combos, but overall, it was the takedowns that screwed him in that fight. Magny, coming off a submission loss against Yaroslav. Yaroslav, very, very dangerous contender now. Magny has solid boxing, but he is a true MMA fighter. He will mix it up. He's going to strike for about probably the first 30 seconds to a first minute 30. Then he's going to start shooting takedowns. Neal overall will be looking to get these takedowns, especially since Ramiz lost his last fight because he couldn't defend a takedown and because he couldn't get up. And I think Magny definitely has the experience to do that. The pick is Neal and Magny by decision. Rafael Tobias versus Lucas Fernando. This is Lucas Fernando's second chance at the UFC. First being on Dana White's Contender Series Season 7 Episode 1 against Cesar Almeida. Fernando spammed takedowns against Cesar, had some solid striking, but he just kept spamming the takedowns, which is the sole reason he did lose that fight. He did shoot multiple takedowns due to Cesar being a very high level kickboxing world champ, but I do feel like Fernando definitely could have struck a little more with Cesar. I just think he didn't give himself a chance. I feel like he was a little too nervous. Tobias looked good on Dana White's Contender Series, picked up a submission, but couldn't get anything going in his last fight. He just looked like he was stuck in the mud. Tobias here has a puncher's chance, of course. Definitely has a chance to land that lucky KO, especially if Fernando just keeps pressuring Tobias. I do think Tobias has that, lucky overhand right he can land, but other than that, I don't really see too much happening in this fight from Tobias. Fernando overall is the better striker, better kickboxer, better grappler, better wrestler. Overall, Fernando has every advantage here. Be very cautious here with Fernando. I feel like Lucas Fernando is a CLD type of guy where he hurts his opponents and he has every striking advantage, and he definitely could finish his opponent on the feet. He chooses to either go for stupid strikes or takedowns or something that he necessarily doesn't need to do. I feel like he is going to find a way to screw himself and get a boring decision. I feel like he might even have Tobias hurt. Then he's probably not going to realize and just shoot a takedown. I feel like Fernando is probably just going to have a pretty boring 15-minute fight here. But the pick is Fernando KO round 1, hoping that he does finish this fight very early. Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. We have a submission specialist versus Tresean motherfucking Gore. Low-key a banger fight, I won't lie. Definitely really like this matchup, especially for Gore, just because he's going against a grappler, and Luque will strike with him a little bit, but overall he definitely does want to grapple, and I do think Gore has very good takedown defense and will be able to at least keep up with Luque's pace. Gore has shown massive improvement in his last 2 fights, having a huge win off of Azmat Makhechev, where I believe he locked in a nasty guillotine on him and just subbed him. Crazy win, especially for a guy like Gore. I do think, though, Gore had the advantage the longer the fight went on. I feel like Azmat, he is a round 1-2 merchant. If he doesn't get a finish round 1-2, he's most likely getting finished round 3 or he's losing a decision just because he gasses himself out and he so balls to the walls. I think this fight should be a pretty back and forth fight. Luque, when he does get taken down, Kelvin Gastelum took him down pretty easily, and Luque just accepted the position on his back, which for Luque in that fight definitely was the thing to do. Kelvin, bigger guy, most likely he will make mistakes. Kelvin's not the best on the ground, so Luque just played his time, laid on his back, waited till he made a mistake, and then boom, got the anaconda choke. I do believe if Luque can get the takedowns, he will beat Gore. But it's Trayshawn motherfucking Gore. You ain't gonna beat Mr. Vicious, you know? Gore should have his way with this fight. He's a better striker. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns and kind of lay on top of Luque if he does just pull guard or just, accept position like he usually does. I think Luque will kill enough time just laying there, and then once his corner kind of tells him, hey, we got a minute or two, let's work. By that time, I feel like Gore already wins the round and overall just beats him by decision. Dante Johnson versus Eric Makhechev. Young rising prospect versus an aged prospect. I think this will be a domination for Dante Johnson. Eric Makhechev is a very solid fighter. I think the power and the speed definitely benefits Johnson. Plus, another thing, Eric Makhechev got dropped by Rodolfo Vieira in the first round. In my opinion, if you're getting dropped by Rodolfo Vieira in the first round, a BJJ nerd, I don't know, man. That's definitely iffy. In my opinion, though, I can see two ways for Johnson here. Either a huge overhand right, lands right on Makhechev's temple. He's going to shoot a takedown within the first 30 seconds and ground and pound him out of there. First round KO for Dante Johnson. Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chaplin. Chaplin was on Tough season 33. This was supposed to be Charles Johnson versus Jose Ochoa. That matchup was way easier for me. I definitely did have Jose Ochoa winning that fight. But we got Eduardo now. Eduardo fought on The Ultimate Fighter, which ultimately led him to losing to Joseph Morales, the eventual winner of Tough Season 33, after defeating now current UFC fighter Alibi, who, fun fact, recently popped for steroids. Alibi took a 1-year suspension. He did beat Odie Osborne, and then Pop took the 1-year suspension, so it does kind of make Chaplin's record look a little bit good, but also, doesn't really do too much now. Watching Chaplin on Dana White's Contender Series, he had a pretty slow start, a lot of feeling out process. The first about minute or two, I want to say, I don't even think he threw a punch. He might have thrown just a jab just to get it out there, but I don't really think he was throwing much in that fight at the start of round 1. I do feel like Chaplin will do the exact same thing against Charles Johnson, a very tough guy, especially for an up-and-comer, and it's on short notice. I feel like Charles Johnson has every advantage. Charles Johnson purely trains cardio. His wrestling and striking are just so solid that he is such a hard fighter to beat that you have to genuinely put his lights out or hit him hard enough to where he can't stand and the ref calls it. Putting away Charles Johnson is probably one of the hardest things as a flyweight up-and-comer. Loner couldn't do it. Joshua Van couldn't do it. At this point, losing to Charles Johnson, best base for MMA. I think Charles Johnson will get his striking going very early, it's established very early, allowing Charles Johnson to start throwing in fakes and feints. Chaplin does have good striking, solid wrestling, but I do think it's just in the UFC inexperience. I feel like he hasn't faced enough top guys just yet in order to have that experience and know what it takes to beat a guy like Charles Johnson on short notice. I will take Charles Johnson by decision just due to Chaplin being so tough. So we got Chidi versus my dog, Yoel motherfucking Alvarez. Easy pick here, Yoel Alvarez by submission. Chidi is so tough and he's so good of a kickboxer that I don't think Alvarez will be able to catch him on the feet. I do think Alvarez will strike with him at the start, see if he can knock him out maybe. Once he realizes, man, Chidi's a little too tough, he's going to take him down and he's going to submit him. I think it'll be pretty easy for Alvarez. He might struggle a little bit closing the distance against Chidi, especially with the kicks, but I do have full confidence in an Alvarez finish here. Alvarez by submission in round 2 will be my pick just due to Chidi being so tough and maybe just barely escaping round 1. Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovic. Barboza versus Ribovic is like sending an injured lion to face the new big dick lion, It's it's just set up for failure. I don't think Barboza really has a chance in this fight. When you go against a guy like Ribovic, where he is so tough, yes, you might be able to submit him, or you might even be able to beat him in a decision, but he is so tough and he is so young that he's still learning and he's only just getting better and better. Esteban is going to walk Barboza down. It's going to be kind of like the Jalen Turner fight, where he just needs to walk him down. Barboza is aggressive already, so he just has to wait for Barboza to come in, land a nice 3-4, or even a nice 1-2 down the middle. Boom. most likely will rock Barboza pretty good. Or even if he throws a random elbow or even a knee, I do think it will cut up Barboza bad enough so that will set up the finish. Esteban by round 1 KO is the pick here. Mansur Abdul Malik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I think I just butchered that, but that's okay. Another sacrificial lamb. There is no way that Mansur loses this fight. Yes, he is coming off KO loss. Should he be a minus 700 in this fight? No. Should he be a minus 1,000? Most likely. Dustin is good, but don't get me wrong. I just think Mansur's power will be able to crack him early enough, and I just don't think Dustin will be able to establish his game fast enough. And I just think Mansur is a freak athlete. This guy can pretty much do it all. I think he'll have his way, and I think this is pretty much a setup for victory for Mansur. So this is a pretty good fight here. Jalen Turner versus Kai Fernandez. This fight is very interesting to me because Jalen Turner came out of retirement at the age of 31. I think he was retired for about a year. I don't think his mental is right. He got his mental right, came right back, put on a masterclass against Barboza. Turner has struggled in the past with urgency. Urgency? What do you mean urgency? I mean him not finishing the guys he should be finishing. For example, watch Jalen Turner versus Moicano. That fight says it all. That describes pretty much every Jalen Turner fight. He either gets a walk-off KO or he knocks you down, lets you get up, and Moicano, submits him. But Jalen Turner is a very solid MMA fighter at the end of the day. He has very good striking. He has that one-punch KO power. Kai Fernandez has nasty leg kicks, could eliminate Turner's power pretty easily if he just keeps his distance. But does Fernandez run around for 15 minutes and, he hopes that he damages Turner's leg enough to where he could take advantage of it and either win, the last round or get a finish? I just don't think this fight really works out for Fernandez because Turner is so much taller than him. The reach is pretty similar, but Turner stands pretty straight up. The leg kick will be there for Fernandez, but if Fernandez comes into the pocket whatsoever, even tries to close any distance, Turner is going to send a missile right down the pipe and most likely knock Fernandez out. Jalen Turner KO round 1 by Fernandez coming into the pocket and Turner giving a nice right hand to the jaw. One of my favorite fights on the card, Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson from Niagara Falls, exactly where I'm from. Gotta go with the hometown goat. Plus, Jillian is such a killer, man. Mackenzie Dern is good, don't get me wrong, but I like the more dangerous fighter here. Mackenzie Dern has the better striking. I'd probably say she has the better wrestling, but do not count out Jillian here. Jillian has nasty BJJ, nasty ground and pound, and she's not going to let you off easily. Her striking isn't the best, but it is always slightly improving. Jillian, one of the most dangerous girls in the division, and there is a reason for it. It's because she never wants to go to decision. She wants to finish these girls and get out of there as fast as she can. Mackenzie Dern, she doesn't mind going in there and kind of having a little bit of a battle with you. I'm not going to say a war because, but she'll go in there and have a little bit of a battle with you. So I am going to pick the more dangerous fighter, my hometown goat, plus the fighter I've been supporting for way longer than Dern. Gotta go with Jillian. I got her by TKO round 3. So we got Islam versus the cuck. Gary. So Islam versus Gary is definitely a very fun matchup. Dominant wrestler versus a very solid all-around MMA striker. At the end of the day, Gary is a high-level MMA fighter. No matter what, no matter how much hate he gets, no matter how stupid he is. One of the most retarded guys I know. This weekend, Islam is going to put him out cold. What I mean by that is he's choking his ass out. Oh, how is he going to put him out cold? Isn't that when you get kept? No. He's choking Gary out. Gary's not going to even tap. Gary knows what's going to happen. Gary's not going to be able to tap fast enough before he's out. Islam should have a pretty easy domination here. I don't think Gary's striking is good enough to compete with Islam. When you see Gary fight these guys, for example, Shavkat. Shavkat was probably one of the most dangerous guys he has faced so far. And to be honest, if you kind of look, if you compare Shavkat to Islam, both have solid striking, both finishers, both have good wrestling. And in my opinion, Shavkat is a slower, taller Islam. I think he's taller. I just when Shavkat moves, he's so slow just because he's so tall. Against Gary, Islam is a little smaller. Gary has the striking advantage, but I do think Islam is gonna be able to shoot takedowns faster than Gary would expect him. You also see the Prates win. Prates didn't know really how to wrestle or grapple too much. Big Prates fan, but horrible wrestling in BJJ in that fight at least. I do think Gary loses to two guys who were actually all around fighters. I do not think he beats all around guys. You know, he faced a very dangerous all around guy. Shavkat lost. Very close fight, but I do think Islam's more dangerous. Just because when he's on the ground, he's going to be going for more submissions. He's going to keep the dominant positions. Shavkat was taken down and almost subbed by Gary, which is kind of crazy. We could see a maybe Gary sub. Nah, I'm playing. That ain't going to happen. But Islam probably should go out there, submit Gary. You know, Gary's child will start celebrating on the sidelines because I don't understand it. Gary's kid loves he loves Prates, and he wanted to see Islam. Ian Gary's son hates him as a fighter low key and just loves anybody who Gary's facing. I will end it off here though. There is going to be a video about a very, very popular MMA fighter who did just get announced for a ranked fight. That's all. I'll give you a little hint. We'll end it off there. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you guys follow the picks. We about to go 12 for 12.